Hi everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Noticeboard. I'm Stephanie Akerman, and if you don't know who I am, I'm a parish councillor, a community volunteer, a charity chair, and I'm the founder of Savvy Business Management, all based here in Tean, which is part of Checkley Parish in the Staffordshire Moorlands. So if you've been following my podcasts, you'll know that I often focus on the hidden everyday work that keeps the village running. From all the drains, the flood responses, all the footpaths, and all the work that just goes on beyond what's pinned to the notice board. So this week, we're talking about the recent meeting I attended with Severn Trent Water, which is part of a wider picture of change in how the water and the waste issues are being tackled across our area. And this all ties directly into something called the WINEP, which is the Water Industry National Environment Programme. Now, you may not have heard of the WINEP, but it's easy to assume that it'd just be about little issues, but it's far more than that. So it's about the whole environmental action plan for water companies. So it's agreed with regulators like the Environment Agency, DEFRA and Ofwat, and it sets out the legally binding actions that those water companies must deliver, and ours must be delivered by 2030. So now I'm going to break down what Severn Trent Water have said. So at the meeting, I raised a concern that had been bothering me for a while, and that was about the planning consultations. So when these planning consultations come in, especially for big developments, just like the Rakeway site in Cheadle, I do often feel that the comments that come from Severn Trent Water just don't go far enough and they're way too simple. Because as local councils and local community members, we're often raising serious worries about the capacity, the flood risk and the infrastructure, and they also know that they've got all those issues too, but their responses when it comes to planning can feel very vague or non-committal. So I did say that I would like to see stronger, clearer positions from our utilities, because we all know our area and we obviously know all the concerns that deserve the proper consideration. Now I know that they can't legally they have to accept development, but there's nothing saying that they can't put in more detail about the issues in the area, because we've seen the impact of poor infrastructure, especially when it comes from planning with the overflowing sewers and the backed up drains. And with all these extra developments that are going on everywhere, the pressure is only going to be increasing. And we just need to know that the right people are aware of what's going on right now. So they laid out some different plans, and the first plans were for the short-term plans and what's been happening now. So what Severn Trent's actually doing right now in our area is they've committed to increasing monitoring of storm overflows and improved data sharing with the councils and communities. So at the moment, I've got their latest data release, which is pinned up at the notice board at Greatwood Community Hall, which you're more than welcome to go and have a look at and to have a read of. And I will we have asked for regular updates of these, so these will get released to me on a regular basis now. They'll get sent to me, I'll get them printed off, and I'm going to set up an area for the parish council on their webpage where you'll be able to go in and you can read the digital version, but you'll just have to bear with me with that. So the other things that are going on are there are investigations actively underway in some of the known problem areas. So that includes our Upper Tean network, and the findings that they'll get from those investigations will shape the next steps that we'll have to take. So they're already improving their transparency with their commitments to publish real-time overflow data, and they've provided the tools for the tracking progress. And they are in talks with landowners right now to raise the manhole covers along the river stretch. So it might sound quite simple, and it'll prevent sewage like surcharge during heavy rain, especially in like the areas with the steep gradient or shallow levels. So it's one of the smaller changes and the short-term changes, but that will increase what the system can take, and it will stop all those manhole covers that we've seen that have been blowing up in the field. They'll all be risen to a height. And when I provide you with the document that you can have a read of, or if you go up to Greatwood Hall, you can read it there, then you will find all the information in there that you need about the heights that they are changing them to. But these are all boots on the ground, early phase actions, and they're already started with this stage. And so this is going to lay the foundation for the next lot of fixes that they need to do. So looking ahead is their medium term, which is looking at fixes, the funding, and then the forward plans. So Severn Trent's next wave of work for our area is all about turning the evidence into action. So this will include funding bids and submissions through the PR24 process. So they'll look at upgrading infrastructure like your pumping stations and your sewage systems. They're also going to be exploring the catchment-based solutions. So the potential of moving from so that all sewage isn't coming from Blythe and those areas, they will be diverted and go through a new catchment area. So that will be like the catchment-based solutions. They'll also be looking at some nature-based interventions, and they have been talking to me, and I am trying to get so that we can get a load of water bots in the area as well to try and reduce what storm flow is going down those combined sewers, because if we can reduce some of that as well, that will alleviate some of the issues too, and that'll be where we can play our part in making a change for the area. So there'll be continuing stakeholder collaboration with the parish council, with all the residents, and any of the organisations that are all playing their part. And the mid-term plans, they run from now up to around 2027, and then the outcomes of all those decisions will shape the scale of the work that they do between now and their 2030 deadline. So next, let's talk about the long-term deadlines. So the long-term deadlines are a statutory deadline, and they have to be completed by 2030. So all of the actions that they will have identified with the WINEP, they're not just suggestions, they're actually statutory requirements. So that includes like a broad scope of responsibilities. So they'll have to reduce the frequency and impact of the storm overflows, which will restore the ecological health to all our watercourses. They'll have to look at enhancing the water quality, and they'll have to make the wastewater and drainage systems resilient to like climate shocks. So what they originally called, say, a 10-year storm event, Severn Trent Water for our area are looking at that as though it's a 3-month event, so that they can compensate for more than what we'll currently be going through, and so that they will be prepared for it as we get further down the line, where that weather does become more and more, unfortunately, common and happens more regularly. So it's not just about stopping the pollution, but it's looking at how they can redesign all the infrastructure works and how we can store the water, how we can treat the wastewater, and then also work with nature to prevent some of the problems upstream. So what's important to stress is that all these plans that are being shaped, it'll go through community feedback. So they'll look at the local data, they'll look at the technical proposals, and that'll all determine how it plays out on the ground. So there won't be like a second year go. This will be once they've decided what they're going through, we then have to go through that due to the statutory regulations. So if we're not speaking up now for our areas, and if we're not reporting all the problems and they aren't getting properly mapped, then we're going to risk being missed until the next cycle, and then that won't be very good for us. So we are being involved in consultations, and we're feeding in information to them, and we're following through with any issues, because everything that we do right now will set the course for all that can follow. So by 2030, all the actions must be delivered, and that includes everything from reducing the overflows. So what they'll be looking at now is the potential of which will be better, which is expanding some of the pipes from a Victorian sized pipe to a large pipe, and also looking at installing swimming pool sized storage areas that holds the water back. And they're having to look at it as a collective. So up Tean and Cheadle's catchment area as well. They'll have to combine them to determine what the best solution is going forward. And then obviously the more major solution, which is looking at completely cutting off what comes from Stoke and giving that a new pipework area. So we're not sure at the moment. It's with the team. It's all been designed and it's now going through to determine which is the better solution for us. So they are just discussing all of those right now, and they are going through all the planning to determine which will have the better outcome for the area. And all of this has to be completed by 2030. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's nothing about if the funding's there, they have to complete it by 2030. So now I've got some new concerns though, that what they've potentially put in place at the moment might not be good enough, because we obviously had some on Sunday. We had some new problem spots appearing, and so they're not even on these sewage plans at the moment. So after that heavy spell of rain that we had, where we had the sewage spilling again over the weekend, it was along the High Street and Cheadle Road in Upper Tean. So these locations hadn't obviously been flagged as urgent with Severn Trent because we'd not had active leaks in those areas. And so at the moment we are dealing with like raw sewage, and we have gone through with reporting with Severn Trent, and they are coming to have a look at those issues. So as long as we are getting them flagged in Severn Trent's plans, and we're telling Severn Trent where these issues are now arising, they can then look at those areas and see what we can deal with. But my concern is that if these aren't already in the pipeline, how many more storms we've got to go through before they are. So that's why I'll be heading back to Severn Trent, and I'll be telling them about the new problem areas that we've got, because they weren't captured, and I don't believe they were captured on their during their current modelling. So I can't afford really for assumptions. So just because work's scheduled nearby doesn't mean it's going to solve all the problems. And obviously all these water infrastructures, they're everywhere underneath our roads. So I'm going to be speaking to Severn Trent to just let them know about the new issues that we've been having in the area and get them addressed as part of the current plan, because we don't want another sewage leak, and it's not fair on all of the residents where they are. So why does all this matter to the community? Well, they aren't just high level ideas. It'll impact everything. We could end up with some disruption when they go through some of the works, but that short-term disruption is a lot better than all the flash flooding and the sewage leaks that we're currently getting now. So I'm very glad that they've actually joined with WINEP, because it's a whole national thing, but the impact that it'll have is extremely local. And that means that they're a statutory body, and what they are now promising, they will have to go through with. So that's a really good thing for us right now. So if you see something wrong, if you see a sewage drain that has leaked over and has burst, or you see a drain that's regularly flooding, then please do report it. You can log it on the Severn Trent's site, and you can do it through a video. So you can video and you tell them at the same time while you're videoing what the issue is, and then they normally get back to you within about 24 hours. So I logged the High Street one on Sunday. Monday they got in touch with me to say that somebody was coming out. And then today we've had another team who's gone out to go and have a look to see if there's a blockage or an issue as to why all of that came out with the rain. But we know that it's a combined storm drain, so there was obviously too much storm water mixed in with that sewage, and that's what's caused it to leak over. So it's not just about ticking boxes for us, it's to make sure that we can make life better for us here where we live, and so that we have less sewage issues. So my final thoughts are that we need to keep talking and we need to keep pushing. So the Severn Trent meetings is like one piece of the puzzle, but the picture is clear that the next few months, never mind years, are quite important. So we need the community voices, we need local data. I am speaking to Severn Trent Water, and I do want to get them out on the ground talking to residents to find out about more trouble areas so that they can gather more of that local data, and then put a real steady pressure on them delivering these projects, but not just for receiving those puts and those promises, but so that we can get some real physical change. So I'll keep doing my bit. I'll keep attending and chairing the meetings. I'll keep raising our concerns, and then I'll keep feeding the information back so everyone knows what's going on. So I just thought, with how much I'd got to relay back to you all, it was much easier to do it in a video than it would have been to try and type all of this up, because that's just too much. So I just want to say thanks for listening to my Beyond the Notice board, and I'll see you again with another update from all the work that's going on in the background. So thank you very much, and take care.